So today, we're diving into a budget that, on the surface, promises some financial relief to the people of Vancouver. But at what cost? The city's 2026 budget has set off a huge debate, and we're here to get into why the path to a 0% property tax increase is, well, a whole lot more complicated than it sounds. So let's just jump right in. I mean, think about it. Everything costs more right now. So how on earth can a major city like Vancouver just decide to freeze its main source of income? That's the big puzzle we're going to try and solve today. At the very heart of this whole thing is one single number: zero. A 0% property tax increase. Now, that seems like a clear win for homeowners, for businesses, right? But as we're about to see, this one number has kicked off a massive domino effect all across the city. And to call this controversial, that would be a serious understatement. Get this, over 600 people signed up to speak at the city council meetings. That is one of the biggest public turnouts anyone can remember. So clearly, this isn't just about taxes. Something much, much bigger is at play. Okay, so how is the city actually planning to pull this off? Let's break down their game plan. The whole idea is to find $120 million in savings and new revenue, all without raising property taxes by a single dollar. And here it is, the playbook for finding that $120 million. City departments have been told to focus on four things: bring in money from other places, find ways to do more with less, take a hard look at the services they provide, and cut down on overhead for big projects. Let's dig into that first one, non-tax revenue. What does that even mean? Well, it's pretty simple. It's all the money the city makes that isn't from property taxes. We're talking about higher fees for things like permits, your utility bills, and even new deals for advertising and sponsorships. So here's the kicker. While one bill is frozen, other costs are definitely going up. And this slide really shows you what that means for your wallet. Even with that property tax freeze, utility fees are going to go up by an average of 4.2%. So for a typical family home, you're looking at about an extra $100 a year. But then, look at this. For a business, that number jumps to over $600, a much bigger hit. And here's the real twist. You'd think with a tax freeze, they'd be cutting spending, right? Wrong. The city's total budget is actually projected to increase by $50 million. That 0% freeze is being completely balanced out by all these new fees, which lets the city's overall spending keep on climbing. So, a 0% tax increase, that has to be what people want, right? Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The city actually went out and surveyed residents to see what they thought. And honestly, the answer is pretty shocking. Okay, so look at this chart. The city asked people straight up, what do you want? And the number one answer chosen by 42% of people wasn't zero. It was a 5% tax increase, just to keep services the way they are. The 0% option, which came with a warning of significant service reduction, dead last, the least popular choice of all. And this quote from a speaker at that council meeting, it just nails what people are worried about. The fear isn't just about the money. It's that trying to make things look affordable on paper actually makes the city, well, a less functional place to live. Which brings us right to the heart of the controversy. If the total pie is getting bigger, but the slices are being recut, you gotta ask, who's getting more and who's getting less? Let's follow the money. I mean, just look at these numbers. They're pretty stark. On one side, you have the Vancouver police getting a huge boost, almost $50 million. And on the other side, deep cuts pretty much everywhere else. Planning and sustainability, arts and culture, corporate support, down 12, 14, 15%. This is that big money shift in action. Now, what's the city's defense here? Their argument is, hey, don't worry. The stuff you actually see and use every day, that's safe. They've promised to keep community centers and libraries open the same hours and to keep the arts grants funded. They're saying the cuts are all happening behind the scenes, in admin and support roles. But as you can imagine, a lot of people aren't buying it. The critics, and there were hundreds of them, are sounding the alarm. They're arguing that this whole idea of a front line and a back end just isn't that simple in the real world. The city's union really put a human face on this, warning that close to 400 city jobs could be on the line. And for them, these aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They represent real people, real families who are now facing total uncertainty about their jobs and their futures. And you heard these same themes pop up over and over again from the public speakers. People are worried about climate action, about who's going to support all those community programs if the back-end staff are gone, and about the city's entire cultural vibe. There was just this widespread feeling that this plan is short-sighted and makes Vancouver a worse place to live. So really, you've got two totally different stories here. The city is selling this as a smart, efficient, back-to-basics move. But to its critics, they see it as gutting the very soul of Vancouver. And that leaves us with one big, final question. This whole budget is built on the idea that you can cut the back end to protect the front line. But here's the thing. In a city this complex, when you start cutting away that support structure, how long before the front line itself just crumbles? Where does one really end and the other begin?